Creative Tech Podcast. Let's get started.
Yo.
Hello, team.
How's it going, Fiore?
Thank you so much for your time and attending to our podcast today.
No problem.
Please imagine there are many our audience to listen your journey.
Sure.
Yes. So please introduce your name and what do you do in Los Angeles.
My name is Tim Lobes, and I've been living in Los Angeles for like 6 years, about. And I was living in San Francisco before that. Then I was living in Chicago prior to that. And so I moved to San Francisco originally to work in tech and visual effects. So I started at Lucasfilm, worked on the Clone Wars TV show for a few years, moved over to Google, YouTube, various startups in that area, and then finally moved out to Los Angeles because it was cheaper, of course, that's like the biggest reason. But also I thought LA just had people that didn't just talk about tech all the time. There was creatives, there was actors, there was writers, there was everything. There was also engineers and startup founders and all that, but you just had so many more people who were in Los Angeles, and I just found the weather better. Who knows? San Francisco, I loved it too, I miss it. But yeah, I like it down here. And so I moved down here when the VR craze was starting, back when the DK1 came out. And I've been working at various like freelance companies and some, full-time companies, some startups. And now I'm building, so I do both freelance, but I'm also building a startup that is in the interactive streaming space.
I see. Thank you. So this is my first time to come to West Coast. So California is like huge, like not Saitama ken, but the same.
Saitama, yeah.
Same, not prefecture. What can I say?
State?
State, でしょ?
Yeah.
So please describe just your observation. What is the difference between San Francisco and Los Angeles?
San Francisco, I think people, like if you go to a coffee shop in San Francisco, you have people that are more focused on doing some sort of engineer-based project. So you go walk into like a Phil's Coffee, you see people coding, or you go to the Berkeley campus and you go to any coffee shop there. Every screen has some IDE, like Visual Code or Xcode, or someone's building something. Whereas you come down to LA and you'll go to some cafes where people are legitimately writing a script, or you'll also see people coding. You'll see people doing Photoshop, or people in like a spreadsheet or on a Zoom meeting. And so I think the range of things that people are doing down here is vast, whereas in SF it was very siloed. Like everyone kind of did the same thing. They sort of had the same interests. Everyone rock climbs. Everyone, wears all black. Everyone has a hoodie. Yeah, very tech centric.
I see. Interesting.
But I loved it. I did. I really did love it. And it was time to go. Had no money, so decided to come to LA.
So when you were in San Francisco, you used to work at Lucasfilm. It was your first company in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I see. Wow.
Yeah, that was an interesting job because every day was something different. So I worked in the northern campus, which is it's Nicasio, California, and you go up this road every day to get there, and that's technically where Skywalker Ranch is. Wow. And so you had two ranches. You had Skywalker Ranch and Big Rock Ranch.
Ranch means the big house.
Yeah, kind of. I actually have no idea what officially is a ranch. Okay. But it's a big house with a lot of land around it. And so Skywalker is what Lucasfilm is sort of known for in terms of that area. And Big Rock Ranch is sort of the lesser known area where a lot of people are working on stuff, since that's where my office was. And that's where they're working on the Clone Wars TV show. And then Skywalker is kind of like if you are working on a movie, or you're scoring a movie or finalizing something, a director or the orchestra will come to Skywalker Ranch.
Wow.
And they have sound studios there for people to finish the Foley of a movie or the sound. the music. But what's interesting is that you usually have like these celebrities who come through there. And so every day I would go run from Big Rock Ranch to Skywalker and then get lunch there. And I would always run into like some random celebrity like Spielberg or Seth Green. And it was just very random, you know, contrast of that. But yeah, it was interesting. And I'm like, oh, I probably will never have a job like this again.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Please continue.
That was my first job. So yeah, that was fun.
How did you get this position? And
it was tough.
Tell me the position's name. Sound engineer or what?
So at Lucasfilm, I was a technical artist.
Technical artist.
Yeah, and so the idea there is, let's say you're not that great at art and you're not that good at engineering, but you see the artists doing a lot of manual work. So they're just like clicking a lot to do one task. It was my job to go in and be like, hey, we're gonna make this task much easier for you. So here's a tool to make that happen. And so I worked in the licensing department, and we were taking every asset or every model and ship and weapon and anything from the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show and handing those off to licensees. For example, Hasbro would need all the Star Wars stuff, or you had various magazines, just anyone ever using the Star Wars brand, they would need those assets, and my team would be responsible for delivering them.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. And then
it was great. And George Lucas would come into our office because we didn't really report to him, whereas everyone else did. So he found it relaxing to just come into our office and be like, hey, how's it going? Well, good to chill here. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah.
I see. Okay, so and then you were in there 2 years. What is the biggest impact things for you if you do recap?
I think the biggest impact of me working at Lucasfilm was simply being able to go around San Francisco and say, I worked at Lucasfilm. Whereas everyone there would be like, oh, I work at Google, at Facebook. But if I was to say, I work at Lucasfilm, like, whoa, wow, you mean you don't work in the tech industry? That's crazy. But it was also kind of bad because when you try to find a job after that, most recruiters didn't really understand how like people who are technical at the visual effects company side could then go into the tech industry. And so that was challenging, you know.
I see. Okay, this is after you kind of graduate Lucasfilm. Okay, let's talk about in 2 years. What did you learn most biggest impact?
The biggest, I don't think I really had much impact at Lucasfilm.
Really?
That was my first job. I think the impact was just I made a lot of friends there, and we did cool stuff. Like I got to work on a few seasons of an amazing TV show, Star Wars Clone Wars, and that is still like that kind of animation style is still being made today. So I was supposed that would be an impact. And then the impact was just I got to start my career. There you go.
I see. Yeah. Interesting. And then, okay, next question. So we have common things. You really love Tokyo.
Yeah.
Japanese culture. Why do you like? Okay, let's
good food.
3 things which you really into Japanese culture.
Food, number 1. The ability to just go to a conveni and get spicy chicken anytime of day. You just get the absolute best food at a convenience store. The 7-Elevens in Japan are phenomenal, whereas the ones here, you do not want to go in there. I would say second is walking. I love being able to just walk everywhere, and the walkability of just really anywhere in Japan, especially if you're in a city, you can get anything at any time by just walking. So if you're up late at 2 a.m., you could just walk somewhere. And third, it's just so safe. Anywhere you could go, you never really have to worry about anything. Like I could leave my wallet on the ground and someone's gonna come pick it up and give it back to me instead of having it stolen. And I think it's just very interesting to go over there and you see all these new things, and it's so dense. So maybe that's kind of cheating because it's number 2 walkability. But the density of Tokyo and just Japan in general is just interesting. There's always something to do every day. So I love it.
I see.
And it's inexpensive right now,
I see.
for sure.
Okay, so your one of milestone is making your second studio in Tokyo, right? In near future.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. What do you want to do in Tokyo if you have studio?
I would love to work with a lot of the people that I've met there already. So I have a lot of friends who are just doing different creative stuff, different engineering stuff in Tokyo, or Osaka, or Kyoto. And to be able to have like a headquarters in Tokyo while working on my company, that would be incredible. It's much cheaper than Los Angeles. And so being able to use that money to create the company versus me having to live, that would be ideal.
I see.
Oh.
Okay, now I am kind of a transition situation.
Okay.
I'm looking for, I don't know, the startup which I want to work with or I want to join in the US. So
there's a lot out
if
there.
you have some advice before I join, whatever.
Ooh, I do have a
Yesterday
ton.
we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose some of my advice I probably can't say without getting dinged by someone's lawyer, but I'll try to give you some advice. I think you should probably try to find a company that actually has a pretty solid business model. So if they have a lot of investing, or a lot of investment, they're like Series A, Series B, maybe stay away from those unless, honestly, unless you're the founder of a startup at a very early company, you're probably going to get screwed on salary. Equity is going to be worth nothing. The founders are going to have liquidity, but they're sort of going to pretend that they're taking the same amount of risk at all times as the employee, which in some cases they're taking way more risk, but in other cases they're liquid. So
Yeah.
I would say go for something that you find interesting, because you are going to have to work more than 40 hours a week for sure.
Yes.
Maybe try to find a Series C, but you
Series C.
kind of have to make sure it has a legitimate business model. Legitimate business models.
Say again?
Legitimate
Legitimate,
business model.
not resilient.
No, legitimate.
Legitimate.
Like a business model that actually makes sense to you. You actually see a plan for them to make money. There were too many startups that were started in like 2016 that just had no business model, but they got a lot of investment, got high valuation. You do not want to work for them, trust me.
I see. These two points super important.
Yeah.
Okay, conclusion. The key takeaway from Kim Sensei
Key takeaway.
is one. なんだっけ
Uh,
the company
remember what we're
who has business and then which I am interested in.
yes.
This is important.
Try to be interested in the thing you're going to go spend a lot of your life working on,
Okay.
for sure.
And second, the company who has business which is I feel makes sense.
That is huge, especially in LA. I would say, going back to a previous question, your difference between SF and LA, it seems like the companies in SF tend to make more sense in terms of their business models and how they're getting funded. In LA, recently, not so much.
Really?
It seems like companies in LA can just get funded based on who you know or like a founder's pedigree.
Okay.
Yeah. But hopefully, I think that's changing.
It means
Finally.
the startups in LA, sometimes the founder is just famous. That's why they can raise money.
I think so.
I see.
But that's not a bad thing too, because if you, let's say you start to run out of money as a company, if you have access to capital, that's going to be less riskier for the VC who's putting themselves into that cap table. If you don't know anyone, that's bad. That's not that great.
I see.
So you can't really fault people for using their fame to get money. But it does suck when the businesses actually make no sense whatsoever. So yeah, As an employee, you have to watch out. As an investor or a founder, it's not that bad. As an employee though, yeah.
I see. Thank you. Last two questions. Well,
2 questions?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay.
So, okay, I would love to interview you and your friends who is like working at startup in LA or doing creative things.
Yeah.
So, do you have some recommendation?
Tons.
Yay!
Yes.
Okay, so last. So, okay, maybe there are your potential clients or customers. So please, you can tell about your company. Do you have a business card?
No, not for me.
Okay.
So my company is called StreamCraft, and if you are a streamer who's on Twitch or YouTube or any other platform, my whole company is to make you a whole lot more money so that you are generating revenue all the time. And I'm doing this through allowing your audience to interact with you through real-time game engine. StreamCraft.io, please check it out.
Please check it out.
Yo.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Tim.
Thank you.
Bye.